Is this Florida grandmother an evil mastermind behind murdering her former son-in-law? Well, that's up for a jury to decide when she goes to trial later this year. As she awaits trial, she's been behind bars in the Leon County Jail. But now there's a little twist there. Now, last week I reported that Donna Adelson was hoping to use inmates in her upcoming trial. Why? Because she believed her fellow inmates could help prove she was blackmailed. Now, the Adelson matriarch testified last week that Catherine McBanoa, remember her, she recruited her children's father, Sigfredo Garcia, who helped recruit his friend Luis Rivera to assassinate Donna's former son-in-law, Dan Markel, in his driveway back in 2014. Now, Catherine is important. Not only does she tie the killers to Charlie Adelson, but also, allegedly, Donna Adelson too. Catherine also spent some time in the Leon County Jail before her trial, after her mistrial, pretty much until she was convicted and sent to prison. Meanwhile, Donna's been housed there since her arrest in 2023. So last week, Donna told the judge she had been informed by other inmates that Catherine was going to set up the Adelsons in order to get a reduced sentence. So Donna's defense attorneys requested a hearing because they want those two inmates to be deposed now instead of wait for trial. Why now? Because the defense is worried that because the two women are drug addicts and set to be released soon, they might not be able to locate them in time for trial. But the judge ruled against the defense's motion because he didn't see prior drug use as a sure indicator that they wouldn't show up for trial. Since that ruling, though, a huge update. Donna was moved to protective custody in the jail. The Florida grandma claims that she was assaulted by another inmate. So what happened? Well, Donna reported that another inmate grabbed her by the arm in the bathroom area. This alleged incident reportedly happened in December, but wasn't reported until last week. But here's the thing. Could this be a ploy to get out of jail and out on bond? Well, in light of her being moved to protective custody, her defense attorneys filed a motion for her to be released on bond while she waits for trial. In that motion, Donna's defense claims she hasn't been receiving adequate medical care, and she's repeatedly threatened and abused by other inmates. Her defense spoke of a couple more alleged incidents. One where Donna claims an inmate shoved her face first into her bunk, and when Donna asked her why she did that, the inmate replied, "Because you're a blank killer." Then there was another alleged incident in October, where Donna's arm was yanked behind her back when she was brushing her teeth. Now, Donna claims that inmate demanded that she start buying her food and snacks each week. So according to the motion, Donna did, and didn't just spend 10 or 20 bucks. Donna claims she purchased more than $1,000 worth of stuff for this inmate because she was scared for her life. Then there was another incident. Another inmate allegedly touched Donna inappropriately. So here's what Donna's team is proposing if the judge grants her release on bond. Well, first they claim she's not a threat to the community or a flight risk, which is interesting given that she was heading to Vietnam on a one-way ticket when she was arrested at a Miami airport nearly 2 years ago.
Do you know how long we're going to sit? Oh, how long we're going to sit here?
And when he comes back, he's going to take you from here to the launch floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, whatever information he took from you, I guess that's what he was missing, so he's going to enter that.
Okay. So the next place is what? The warrant? What did you say?
Huh?
What did you say the next place was?
Well, see, what happened is the warrant that they had from you is from out of Leon County.
When did they issue a warrant?
So what happened is we have to take you to our warrant bureau for that information to get entered, and then after that gets entered, before we can take you to the jail, to the local jail.
Okay, because I didn't know there was a warrant. How would I know that?
Well, we wouldn't have been able to take you if there wasn't something in place.
So aren't they supposed to inform?
Huh?
Aren't they supposed to inform me if there was a warrant?
I don't know the details right now.
Yeah, I don't either.
They had a warrant. The gentleman that you met earlier in the plane clothes.
Yes.
Right. They were supposed to inform you of whatever, and then because it's a county warrant, that's how we became involved.
Okay. Yeah.
But here's what Donna's defense is also offering. They say Donna's husband Harvey would move to Tallahassee to stay with her while waiting for trial if she's released. They also say electronic monitoring, a curfew from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and no traveling outside of Leon County. Now it'll be up to a judge to decide if he agrees with that. I mean, Donna is facing really serious charges. First-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and solicitation to commit first-degree murder. So for now, until the judge makes his ruling in light of this information, she'll remain in solitary confinement for the time being. We have so much to break down with this recent update. Let's bring on former Palm Beach County State Attorney, that's Dave Ehrenberg. Dave, always great to see you. What's your reaction to not only Donna Adelson being moved to protective custody, but also the defense motion to release her on bond in light of these instances of alleged assaults while she's been locked up?
She's been trying to get out of jail from the beginning. She's been in custody and pretrial. She's been trying to get the charges dropped. She got a new lawyer. She's trying everything because she hates where she is. At the very least, she wants this trial to go ASAP. She cannot believe that someone who's lived such a perfect life, who's never been involved with the criminal justice system, has to endure this, to be in a city she hates. She's made it clear she hates Tallahassee, to stand trial on something she never thought she would stand trial for. And so I'm not surprised she's just throwing everything at the wall. I mean, she says that there's some fellow inmate who told her that Katie Magbanua set her up. She's just going to try everything. It won't work. It's not going to work. She's going to stand trial in June. I think the evidence is strong against her. So a lot of this stuff is just window dressing.
And I want to kind of touch or talk more about that last point that you had made about the blackmail attempt by Katie McBanua. It's pretty interesting, given that last week she did claim that inmates could testify she was being blackmailed by Katie. What are your thoughts on that, especially in light of her being moved to protective custody?
She is a high profile figure. I mean, she's someone that is well known and not very well liked. I mean, she's someone who's made it clear that she hates Tallahassee and that she's lived this life of privilege while uh, she was involved allegedly in hiring hitmen to kill her estranged son-in-law, someone I knew, by the way, Danny Markel, who was a great guy, and no one deserves that fate, but especially not Danny Markel, who gave up so much of himself to others. But to go back to your question, I think this whole attempt at this extortion is just reminiscent of Charlie and his defense at trial, which, as you remember, did not work. So I think if she's going down the road of setting up an extortion defense that Katie McBanua set her up, that is a road that will have a dead end because it didn't work for Charlie. It's not going to work for her. Her better defense is to focus on Charlie and say, "This is the son. He did this. I had his back because I love my son, but I wasn't involved in the murder itself." That's her best defense. But she'll never throw her son under the bus. Charlie is a mama's boy, and that family is so tight. So I think they're going to go down with the ship, to use another metaphor, and go forward with this extortionist plot that didn't work for Charlie at trial, and it's not going to work for Donna.
And are you surprised that, given that Donna did have to switch her defense team, given that she's still kind of running the same playbook as Charlie, even with these new defense attorneys, are you surprised that she's kind of throwing the same kind of different defenses, the same ones that didn't work for Charlie, but somehow she thinks that they'll work for herself? Why do you think she's even doing that?
Elizabeth, you have hit the nail on the head. I was surprised because with a new lawyer, you would think they'd have a new outlook on the case, a new perspective. But instead, they're adopting the Dan Rashbaum defense, which Charlie used, which is that Charlie and Donna are victims of this double extortion plot. And it doesn't make any sense because why would Katie McBanua have any beef with Danny Markel? Also, if you're going to try to get money out of Donna and Charlie, why kill Danny Markel first? Why don't you just go to them and say, "Hey, I'm going to do you harm unless you pay me big money"? But instead, this whole convoluted double extortion plot is so preposterous because it means that you had these two hitmen drive 8 hours to Tallahassee twice to kill someone that Charlie and Donna hated. Well, why do that? Why not just go to Charlie and Donna and say, "Give me money"? Why kill someone they hated first and then say, "Now you're next unless you give me money"? It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And I kind of agree with you there, given that the only tie that Katie McManaway even had to Dan Markel was the Adelsons. And of course, we already know Charlie's fate. We'll see what Donna's fate is come trial. But going back to the defense's most recent motion, do you think there's any possibility that the judge will grant the defense's motion and actually release Donna on bond? Her attorneys claim she's not getting adequate medical care. She's not a flight risk, even though she was arrested at an airport. Her husband will live with her in Tallahassee, like she'll do a curfew. She won't leave Leon County. I mean, it's kind of hard to say that she won't be a flight risk, even though she was arrested getting on a flight to Vietnam. One-way flight, by the way.
Right. She's not a flight risk, Your Honor. Please disregard that she bought one-way tickets to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States, and stopping in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, which does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. Please ignore that. But she's not a flight risk. Oh, ignore the fact she's got lots of money. And she said in a call to her son, a jailhouse recorded call, that she was either going to flee the country or kill herself. Ignore all that stuff. Just let her out. Not a chance.
And, Donna is a little bit older in age. She turned 75 last week. And I hate to even ask this, but do you buy these alleged assaults are happening? Or do you think, going back to it, do you think this is all just a ploy for her to get out on bond?
Now, she may have been subject to an assault. I can see that some of the prisoners there, some of the inmates, may look at her as some privileged woman who needs to pay up, or someone who's insulted Tallahassee, someone who is lied repeatedly and is really can't help herself. She does seem very erratic as an erratic individual. So I could see her gaining enemies behind bars. But at the same time, I don't trust stuff that she says. I mean, I think she has a track record of misleading people, so I don't trust it. Now, I think that both things could be true. She could have been threatened behind bars, and at the same time, that perhaps she was not physically attacked, and so she's worried about threats. And I think that's true. But at the same time, there are a lot of people behind bars who are worried about threats, and until something terrible has happened to her, I mean, that's really it shows that she is a victim of a physical assault. Then I don't think she has a leg to stand on in trying to get out early. Now, if she is the victim of a physical assault, then we can revisit that another time. She'd have to be perhaps moved to protective custody. But just to let her out, a person who tried to flee the country already, that's not going to happen.
I know, especially given the charges that she's facing. I mean, first degree murder, solicitation, conspiracy, like these are severe charges. This isn't traffic court. So I'm very surprised that, Donna's attorneys are even kind of throwing this at the judge and kind of going back to her age. And even just in light of everything we've known, do you think that she was just expecting special treatment in jail? I mean, like, as you've mentioned before, she came from South Florida down in Miami. She's lived kind of a lavish lifestyle, but this is jail. And we hate to hear that anyone's getting allegedly abused or assaulted in a jail setting. But at the same time, given that she is experiencing, or that she says she's experiencing, these back pains and these alleged assaults, do you think that she just was thinking that she'd get special treatment and using that special treatment to try to even get released out on bond?
Well, she thought she'd be out in a couple weeks. Remember, Charlie told her everything was going to go as planned, and everything fell apart. And yeah, if back pain gets you out of jail early, wow, then I think you'd have empty prisons because we all have some back pain. I've got back pain, but that's not enough to get you out of jail early. But I do think someone like that, who has lived a life of privilege, who has never been involved with the criminal justice system, who is shocked that she would ever be arrested and charged. I mean, look how she acted when she was caught on the jetway trying to flee the country. She just, I think, has convinced herself in her mind that she did nothing wrong. She's not guilty. Charlie allegedly told her that this was all being taken care of. I mean, he's the maestro. If you doubt that, just look at his license plate on his car. He's the maestro. He's able to pull all the strings, help create this whole plot. And now Donna is going down with him. For her, that's not the way this is supposed to work. She wasn't the one who did the shooting. She wasn't the one who arranged for it. She was the one who went along allegedly with Charlie. So for her, in her mind, she did nothing wrong, and she's going to learn real fast that there's something called conspiracy to murder, also being a principal to murder because there's evidence against her.
And I also want to go back to another point you made. Does the state have enough to convict Donna, in your opinion?
I do. I think so. And I think so, especially because she tried to flee. Jurors are going to hate the fact that she tried to flee. They're going to say, why does she have a one-way ticket? You know why? Because they're going to think that's consciousness of guilt. There also are those jail calls that are terrible, plus the emails, plus the money drop. I mean, the Katie Magbanua testimony that the money was literally laundered, I mean, washed, and there was mold on it, and it was dropped off by the mother, and there was those messages between her and her son, seeing if he was around that night so she could drop off the money, allegedly. I mean, and then there's the bump. The bump is really powerful evidence. And when she responds to the guy who is allegedly trying to extort her, a real extortion, right, for money, what's her response? You go to the police? No. She calls him and tries to talk to him about it. And at the end, when she proclaims she has nothing to do with anything, she's not involved in this. Why are you talking to me? She then says, okay, I'll call you back. That's not someone who is innocent. Now, she's innocent until proven guilty. I get it. But the evidence is strong against her.
And also, I know you have special ties to this case, given your friendship with Dan Markel. What's it been like, as a loved one of his, even for his loved ones as well, too, his family? What's it been like knowing that this case has been going on for more than a decade at this point?
Just glad that it's actually happening, because for a while we're wondering if any justice would happen here, because it took years to make the first arrest. Now it's been a decade. And so for a while, it did seem like the family had allegedly gotten away with it, because the family wanted the grandchildren, the children, to move out of Tallahassee to live with them. They wanted to erase Dan from their lives, and they did for a while. In fact, the kids moved down to South Florida. They lived with the mother and the grandparents, and the last name, Markel, was erased. In fact, they went back to Adelson. The grandparents, Danny's parents, were not even allowed to see the kids anymore. And so if you look at it from that perspective, they got what they wanted. So justice delayed is justice denied. But in this case, after waiting for so many years, I'm grateful that it does look like there's going to be justice. And I do believe that if Donna is convicted, that she won't be the last Adelson arrested.
And I think a lot of people, kind of alluding to what you had mentioned there, kind of a lot of people just have a fascination with this case because they want to know what's going to happen next. Is it going to end with Donna? Is it going to end with somebody else? There's just a lot of fascination in the case. But then we also have to remember there is a victim in this case, too, and that's Dan Markel. Dave Ehrenberg, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I always appreciate it. Before we sign you off, though, where do you think it all goes from here?
Well, I think this case is going to go to trial in June, and then I think Donna will be found guilty, and then I think the next shoe will fall. I think there'll be another arrest. The only way I think that this case ends with Donna is if Donna is acquitted. I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's always a chance there's a hung jury. There was with Katie Magbanua. They had her dead to rights, but she got a hung jury because of one holdout juror. I think for Donna, I think she's going to end up the same fate as her son, Charlie.
And we'll all see how this all unfolds very soon. Dave, again, thank you so much for your time today. I always appreciate it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Online records show Donna Adelson will appear in court on February 26th for a motion hearing. So we should learn then if bond will be set in her case. Meanwhile, her trial is expected to start in just a few short months, beginning on June 3rd.